a sec. Right. It's looking like we're live, guys. Good evening, everyone. NHPUK Party Talk here.
Good evening, folks.
Good evening.
You got your very own Big John, Paul Rimmer, and our very own Callum. Callum, so you've just joined officially, haven't you?
Yeah, I have, yeah.
Excellent.
It's good to have some young blood in the party. There's youngsters joining, and Callum is from the West Country, so we're spreading all over the country. What I hope we can be, John, is a nexus, a gathering point for all the patriots in the country, a network. We want a network right across this land, because in 2023, big things are going to happen, and we've got to have the people. I think the people will be on the streets in 2023, because I can see, John, an economic crisis ahead.
Is this Paul's predictions for 2023?
Absolutely. I mean, there's a few which I think are bang on. One is that interest rates are going to continue to rise. On February the 2nd, they're going to put another 0.5 point on the interest rate. That means it's pushing over 4.5 points. And people are going to have to pay a lot more for their mortgages. And we're heading towards, and we really have to focus on this, a crash in property prices. And that's going to put a lot of people up the creek without a paddle. It will lead to repossessions. It will lead to a lot of people hitting the pocket very hard, another cost of living crisis. And when people face this sort of pressure, they start to react. They see all these bogus asylum seekers coming across the channel, coming in through the airports, being put up in 4- and 5-star hotels, or premier hotels in the west of London and all sites all over the country. And I think this isn't on. We, the British people, need to have the support at the moment, not the whole world. We can't carry the whole world anymore, John.
No, definitely can't. Definitely can't. So that's the housing. What other predictions have you got, maybe? Well, that's going to lead to a lot. If the prices go up, that's going to affect a lot of other things, isn't it?
What we're going to see, I mean, the Ukraine is going to be a big one, because I think that the whole Zelensky regime is under intense pressure now. Zelensky himself, he looks like he's having a nervous breakdown. They've just sent Boris Johnson over there to calm his nerves, but he's had to sack a whole swathe of officials, top people, deputy prime minister, regional governors, because they're all just pocketing the money that was sending over. They're taking the money, put it into Swiss bank accounts. Again, it's just another bunch of foreigners screwing us, while the British people are being told there's nothing for us. The government have poured billions into this Ukrainian war, which is a total waste of time. All he had to do was negotiate with Putin to respect the Russian minority, not to get involved with NATO, and everything would have been peaceful. Instead, NATO provoked Putin into war. They provoked this whole crisis, and now they're trying to sustain Zelensky, and the Ukrainians don't want to fight, John. I don't know if you've seen any of the videos that are coming up on Twitter now, because Twitter is our channel of freedom. And Ukrainian people are posting videos of press gangs in Ukrainian cities who are just grabbing men and they're enlisting them in the army. They don't want to join. They don't want to fight the Russians. They don't want to give their lives for Zelensky. So the whole of Ukraine is going to go into meltdown. So that's going to be another kick in the goalies for our government, because they back this whole Zelensky nonsense. And so 2023 is going to be a very difficult year for the Tories. And the thing about the Tories is they don't listen to the people anymore. It's a globalist government we've got, and even worse, a globalist opposition. So there's no voice for the British people. This is why the NHPUK is so vital. And other patriotic groups. And we had a meeting on Wednesday in the Wirral, and people from different patriotic groups, former For Britain members and other parties came along. And that's what we need to do now. We need to gather, have these patriotic meetings. I spoke at the meeting, John spoke, It was great, you know. Pat himself spoke, and yeah, it was. We had a good response. We have to start meeting up again, forming these units in every locality. I remember in the BNP days, that was one of our strengths, as it was for UKIP, the local public meeting. And that's how we gather. And so 2023 is going to see a surge in activism, John, and we're going to be at the focal point of that. What do you think about that, Callum?
Yeah, I 100% agree. You know, just like what you said with the asylum seekers, you know, there's so many problems that we're seeing coming out with these false refugees and these illegal migrants, to the point now that the number of them is actually doubling each year. So in 2022, there was a total of 45,756 illegal migrants that crossed into the Channel into Britain. And that equates to £65,000 for each illegal immigrant. Yeah.
Random, yeah.
And that then resolves into then, for instance, the housing crisis that we see going on, inflation, you know, the prices of everything skyrocketing through the roof. And it's an absolute joke. Why? Because then the government that then called themselves the Conservative Party, they no longer conserve anything anymore. They're a globalist, run state-like communist agenda that they use to attack the people on a daily basis while they profit from us, the people. So it's a scam.
John, how do you see the Labour Party? If the Labour Party get in government, what will they do?
Oh, destroy our country. They'll destroy
How
it.
long will they last? That's what I'd like to see. If they're under real pressure, how long will the Labour government really last?
Although I said this the other week, I hear on the grapevine that they're going to support proportional representation. That's what I've heard. I don't think it's official. Now, that sounds really good to me, but still, they'll ruin our country. I think the National Health Service will fall flat on its feet if Labour get in control. I'm not saying the Tories aren't doing worse, but it'll definitely go within a certain amount of time when Labour get under control. If not, we'll end up in more debt, because historically, when we look at Labour and Labour control of the UK, if I'm correct, is that they go into debt a lot when Labour
might not have the option this time, John, because of interest rates, and we're already up to our eyes in debt. Now, the thing is, you know, people talk about the NHS crisis, the housing crisis. The real crisis is the immigration crisis, because 1 million people entered this country last year, never contributed into our welfare state, and just started using the services. We just can't finance them anymore, John. But what really worries me is the caliber of the people who've coming in. Now, have you heard about this murder that's taken place? An Afghan refugee. He stabbed to death a Royal Marine, I believe.
Yeah, it was, yeah.
Now, this guy had already committed murders in other countries, and yet he was just allowed to walk into this country. There seems to be no vetting going on, John. Who was coming into this country?
Well, I can tell you a bit about the vetting bit. He's come in and said he's 14, and through the years, and there's a certain agreement called the Dubs Agreement, and through the years, we're not allowed to do dental checks or things to see how old these people are. We're supposed to just take the word for how old they are. It's a massive issue, and it's been going on years, and he's not the only one. We've had previous murderers here. We've had rapists, we've had drug dealers, all through he isn't although he's committed a heinous crime, he isn't the worst person we've had here through this way, Paul. We've had worse people than him come into the country.
I mean, the murder's bad enough, but listen, Callum, we're seeing this whole series of criminality now coming from these bogus asylum seekers. What's the risk of allowing into your country unlimited numbers of fighting age men? Just letting them from third world countries. I mean, to me, that sounds like the definition of insanity.
Yeah. I mean, we don't really even have to take these people in to see how bad it struck a nation. I mean, we can look over across into France where, you know, the Moroccans, all the Algerians, you know, everyone is just fighting over one thing, and it's for capital. It's to make money. They're not integrating into their country. They don't respect the values of that nation. And we see that now as well with our country. Just like John said, we're not vetting these people. They come in and they break the laws. We see it happening now in Ireland, you know, with that hotel where all the immigrants are just throwing stuff at the door. And it's horrific, you know. Ever since Lee Rigby's case, you know, that was the spark that kind of set it off in Britain, I think. And throughout, you know, today, we see it happening all over again. It just keeps getting worse and worse.
What really concerns me is the numbers involved, John. The numbers. They're coming in as record numbers.
I just want to go through the chat. Thank you, Pat's in the chat. Thank you very much. Durham Fox, good evening, sir. Penny Bunny, long time no see. Hope you're all right, love. Of course, our Arlene's in. Definitely been busy sharing. I know what my Arlene's like. Definitely sharing. Jimmy, who else can I see? I think I've seen Aunt Sally. Thank you very much. And I've just got to mention, guys, as Paul said, we have been leafleting, but I just want to tell you that we've, as besides Oldham, Dover, Liverpool, Broxbourne in Herefordshire, and leaflets will be going out in Belfast, Glasgow, and South Wales. I was in Glasgow at the weekend, and I did hand out quite a few of my leaflets and stuff like that to fellow Patriots and that. And of course, a Wirral, and we have got, I can officially announce that we've got a candidate going to be running in the Wirral. That's official at the moment for next May. We're working on a leaflet now, so that'll be going out before the election. Just going to mention that, but thank you. Go on, carry on, Paul.
Well, I'm glad you brought up Scotland, John, because we have a very poor and administration in the UK at the Tory government, but the SNP in Scotland takes the biscuit. I mean, I was listening to Nicola Sturgeon talk about young children being questioned on their sexual identity, and she thinks it's a good thing. These are 9-year-old children being asked, are they bisexual? Are they in the right body? And she said, for those who feel uncomfortable with their sexuality, there will be services available, people to help them maybe transition into a different sex. We're talking about 9-year-old children. We seem to be going from one form of insanity to another, John. And how do Scottish people put up with this madness? This administration in Edinburgh, to me, they strike me as a gang of perverts. They're all really jumping on all sorts of bandwagons, like transsexualism and homosexuality and, you know, all pansexuality. They say they have power, but no sanity and no sense of responsibility. So we need the NHPUK up in Scotland. We're a unionist party. We want to bring the 4 countries of the United Kingdom together. And as Callum said, we're also concerned about what's happening in Ireland. The British Isles really is one unit. We'll either survive or sink as a unit. And we have to have our voice in all 4 corners of the British Isles because we're needed, John. We're needed more than ever.
We certainly are, Paul. We certainly are. A little bit more about that guy who's killed people. You know, I know that Lee Anderson, Member of Parliament, is absolutely in uproar, and he's saying that every asylum seeker or whatever should be locked up until they're identified or, you know, something. I mean,
common sense, John. That's all that is.
It certainly is. It certainly is. But we'll see how this pans out, and I'll probably mention it Thursday if we know anything else going on. But I will mention it Thursday. But it's ridiculous. I have talked about the Dubs agreement and identifying minors before in videos going back 5 or 6 years or something like that. And it's a massive issue. And like I said, I know he's done a murder and he's done 2 murders. We've got people here who have committed murder, who've raped, and through exactly the same way that he got here. You just couldn't make it up. And if you look at what the foster carer said, she had to accept that he was 14. She didn't have anything, and she caught him getting knives and knew that he was into knives and knew he was up to no good. His drugs charges on him, and he went out and trying to fight people, honestly. And, you know, at the moment, doesn't look like he's mentally retarded or anything. He's just a nasty person. But we can't accept this, Paul. We just can't.
Well, they're not only committing crimes, John. These are groups of young men with high testosterone walking around our city centres. They're being put into smaller towns. They're stalking young girls. We've seen homosexual rapes in Ireland and in Belfast and Dublin. These people are a little bit twisted, and we're just letting them loose in our society in vast numbers. Callum, what do you think the outcome of this is all going to be in the end?
It's just going to be absolute mayhem, you know. Like, we refer to the story of the false asylum seeker who claimed to be at a younger age to claim asylum. There was another story as well, not so long ago, about the murder of Emily Jones, where the Albanian illegal immigrant came in and stabbed Emily Jones in the park. And I think it's just absolutely horrendous because, I mean, what are our leaders doing? You know, they're profiting off of this, aren't they? They're laughing in the British public faces and they just let it happen. Why? Because they don't care. Because if they did care, they would find a solution around this problem, which they don't. So,
absolutely spot on. Where there's a will, there's a way. If they wanted to solve this problem, solve this crisis, they could do it. I mean, they suddenly found all these billions for Ukraine. The government are pleading like they're impoverished. They can't give the nurses a wage rise. They're struggling to finance the welfare state. We're in real financial problems, but suddenly they find billions for the Ukraine. They find billions to finance asylum seekers and immigrants. I mean, it's absolutely crazy. And so it shows this is what we have is what they want to happen. They are working in accordance with the Clergy plan. They're all nodding to that. And they're actively replacing the British population with all these third world hordes. People from totally different cultures, Islamic cultures, non-Christian cultures, who are coming to this country and just see it as an opportunity to take and cause mayhem. And we could handle it when the numbers were small, but now we're talking about huge numbers of people. We're talking about whole cities being overwhelmed by them. It's a crisis, really, and I think as the British people are put under pressure by the cost of living issues, and they're put under pressure by a tightening economy, we'll want answers to these questions. And the Labour Party offers nothing. We need a new voice for the British people. John?
Oh, yeah, definitely. And that new voice is going to come through the NHPUK. Honest, straight to the point, and not politically correct. And that's our party. Sorry, not my party, our party.
Claim it for yourself, John. Claim ownership, because we've each got to be committed to this party. I know Pat's made at least a 4-year commitment, and I made the same. Now, on Twitter, we've now got over something like 20,000 followers on Twitter. So our reach is quite extensive now, and it's growing. And I'm really impressed by this channel, Twitter, now, because it's allowing free speech. There's all sorts of great people coming back on board. So we have an opportunity here, a channel, to really send our message out to the nation. Callum, how do you think we're going to sort of get our message out to the British people?
Just like you said, spreading the message. That's all we can do, you know? As long as we find the people that we know that need a better nation to grow as well within the NHPUK, that's what we can do. As in going out, doing activism, doing, patriotic, moral judgments on the people that want to join, because there's going to be thousands of people. You know, there's so many people right now, just in my town alone, that are politically homeless. They need a better, governor. They need a better council. They just need a better party in general.
And our messages, come on board, guys. Guys, I'm going to leave you to it now. Have a good chat tonight, and I'll see you next week. Take care, John. Take care, Callum.
Thanks, Paul. Thank you. Thank you there, Paul. Our very own Pastor Paul there with Paul's predictions of 2023. And it's housing. Oh, it's housing. Oh, my Lord. Oh, Callum, where are you gone? You can stay on. You don't need to go. Again, we've been leafleting all over the country with the Merseyside. There's going to be 5,000 leaflets going out in the Wirral over the next couple of months. We've got Oldham still.
Sorry about that.
No worries. We've got Oldham still, and obviously we want to go further. There is some leaflets up in Scotland, but we haven't properly identified what we're going to do. Good evening, Mr. McCarthy. I think you'll be joining us tomorrow on our Bible class, Bible study. So that's at 7 p.m. Is it 7 p.m., Callum, or 8?
I think it's 7, yeah.
Yeah, it's 7. 7 p.m. tomorrow. So I'm sure Pat would have emailed you, and he'll email you a link. But I'm looking forward for you to having a chat with us tomorrow, Mr. McCarthy. Thank you very much, Michael. He has, Durham Fox. He has released some good videos. Thank you, John Spence. Good evening, Peter. Hope you're all right, mate. Looking forward to Saturday. We've got there's a demo on at the Britannia Hotel in Leeds on Saturday, so we're going up. I'm going suited and booted. I've got my Exit the 1951 refugee placard, and hopefully there might be some media there. So I'm hoping maybe to speak to media to tell them what I think of the hotel and the situation. Obviously, with this lad doing this murder, then I'll be able to mention that. Whether they'll put it on print or put it on social media, but hopefully I'll have it recorded as well. So there should be some interesting stuff after Saturday. So that's going on Saturday. Oh, I certainly will, Pat. Don't worry. Good evening, Paul. Me leaflets are always in my man bag, and you can ask Arlene that. So, Callum, what do you think of our leadership that we've got in the country and all the top jobs? Obviously, I mean, I personally think that that like the Prime Minister should be 50% ethnically English, mate. We're in an English country. I know there'll be people out there who say they want 100%, but I mean, I'm already here, and if I want to be Prime Minister, then, I'm 50%. But, it's only fair that we have people who are close to this country ethnically so they can understand us better. Because I'm not saying people can't understand us, but I can't see someone who's grown up in another country or spent time being able to understand our things here. Just the same as I wouldn't be able to understand theirs if I went over, would I, Callum? If I went living in Poland, I'd have to learn a lot about understanding where I live and their culture, their rights and wrongs. It's only fair, isn't it?
Yeah. I mean, when addressing around just employment in general, not just in the civil service, but throughout the whole of the United Kingdom, a lot of people now have adapted this sense of using critical race theory for employment. So that means more tokenism, right? So that's, you know, ticking the boxes if you're not a white person, if you're not straight, if you're, you know, not a man, you know, these things, because, you know, in the name of diversity, that's what they promote. So it promotes tokenism. And what we actually need as a country right now is meritocracy, right? We need people based on merit, whether or not if they're good at their job, not based on their skin color. You know, there were so many cases, right, recently where, you know, police officers, police stations were no longer hiring white straight men. Well, if it was the other way round, John, if it was we're no longer hiring, you know, black women, the media would outcry it for, you know, the next year on. But for some reason, when it's happening to the majority population, the white men such as myself, it's, you know, well, just another day in Britain.
Yeah, well, I'm glad you said that. I did a stream last night about schools and people in positions of responsibility who just can't do the jobs, Callum. You know what I mean? And a particular health centre in Oldham is under the control of the deputy mayor of Oldham, and he's run it into ground. It's got all the members of public are in uproar over it. Apparently, he's had £600,000 off the council that wasn't declared properly for whatever reason. You know what I mean? And these people aren't good enough to run the job. Now, if there was a job coming up for someone to do with mental health, and let's say I didn't have mental health experience, but you had mental health experience, but they're only hiring me because of the colour of my skin, that's gonna eventually affect the people who he's supposed to be looking after. It's going to affect the white guy. It's going to affect the Jamaican guy. It's going to affect the Polish guy. Everyone's going to get affected when we get these people in who are not good at the job. And this health centre has a lot of different ethnicities. Has a lot of Pakistanis going there. You know what I mean? So they're getting affected by putting this guy in who obviously can't do the job properly. You know what I mean? It's just madness.
Yeah.
And then you're right.
There was a video. Sorry, John, go on.
No, you go on.
Okay, I was going to say, there was a video recently, which I think I retweeted on my Twitter accounts, and it was two black girls beating up a white girl in Oldham, I think it was. I don't know if I'm correct or not, but
yeah,
you know, it's like, who are the students that are failing right now in public education in Britain? Well, it's white middle-class boys. So if the school or if the system in general wanted to fix that, they would, but they're not, because they're jumping, you know, they're just jumping on this whole woke bandwagon that, well, there needs to be more female graduates going into university, which is the case now. Majority of university graduates are female. And it's just, the education system is an absolute shambles at this point in this country. You're 100% correct.
Honestly. So that particular incident you're going on about, the particular thing about it is them girls have been identified as trouble causers already. Other members of public have contacted one of the main councillors in that area. He's looking at having a meeting the next couple of days with senior people to do with the school and all that, and things are going on. Also, besides that, someone else has gone to, I'll just find the article. Someone else has gone to the papers, Manchester Evening News, and his son goes there and they've showed pictures of the toilet. He said that the toilets are always locked because he can't let people go in and out of them because there's people attacking people, sexual assaults, people getting threatened. The toilets are minging, the smoking in the toilets. Absolutely no respect for being at school. Now, it weren't like that when I were at school. You had some kind of respect. Nobody went that far. There was no, you didn't smoke in the toilets because you knew you're getting caught. You know what I mean? And stuff like that. And people didn't get threatened in the classroom. What we did, if you had a problem with someone, you went outside at dinner time, right back at shed, and you had your fight there. You know what I mean? And yeah, it's so changed. And Oldham schools are really bad. And there's another one that's been put on special measures because of the same kind of thing. But them girls have already been identified. So unfortunately, it's looking like they're going to get in pretty serious trouble. But I mean, everyone said we have a Muslim activist in Oldham. He's called Raja Mia. And he's been in uproar because he said he said plain and simple that if roles were reversed and it were two white girls, Black Lives Matter, the national news would be up here without even knowing anything about the case. They would be up here, but nobody's saying nothing at the moment because it's two black girls, except for the members of the public in that area. So big up Failsworth in Oldham, big up Failsworth. They're doing something.
Yeah, when I was at school, I mean, I'm only 22 years old, but even then, there wasn't these different sexualities. They weren't this, multiple gender stuff. It was boy and girl, right? And now, obviously, what are we seeing that is being kind of adopted by the woke scenario over in America side of education? It's not education anymore. It's propaganda, right? With the whole BLM narratives, with the whole, LGBTQ plus, and it's just absolutely madness. I read a story the other day, John, where these two LGBT activists went out their way to adopt two children, right, from a Christian orphanage. Not orphanage, I think it was a foster care system. And these two gay dads, they brutally raped these two boys, right, to the point now that they were exploiting them over apps such as Grindr. How the hell did they not check or vet these, two gay dads? One of them had convictions of raping another boy in the past. And that's being brought over into, the UK now, like Paul Rimmer said earlier about the SNP with teaching kids their gender at like the ages of 4 years old. It's child abuse. That's what it really is. It's just child abuse.
It's unbelievable, Callum. It's scary as well. There's some. We went to the Mayor's question time the other week, me and my friend Bernie, and afterwards I went to the toilet, and there were gender neutral toilets. Yeah. So now, obviously, you walk in, and the wash basins are all there, and anyone can use the wash basins. Then you have an individual toilet with a door,
right.
And I felt so uncomfortable being in the same toilet as like teenage girls. I just Bernie were there, my friend Bernie were there, and I was shaking when I come out of it, Callum. I was shaking because I felt really uncomfortable. You know what I mean? Not because I just felt uncomfortable because it just wasn't the kind of situation that I, and I just felt real. And I'm a grown person who can normally handle anything. Me, Callum, I'm dead calm. Arlene will tell you in the chat, nothing jumps me up. I'm dead calm. I can handle it. And I was shaking when I come out. I just felt really uncomfortable. So, and I'm a grown man. What would it feel like for an old woman or a young girl?
Yeah.
It's just wrong. It's just...
my granddad would tell me before he passed away, God bless his soul, he'd say, look, if everything that was happening in the 21st century today was happening 100 years ago, all the soldiers that died giving up their lives for Britain and what it means, they wouldn't have fought. Because the state of this country that it's in now, is it really worth fighting for anymore? I don't think so. And there's only one book that defines why gender theory and transgenderism is in the wrong. And it's this book. It's the Holy Bible given to us by God. Amen. And we believe, and what I mean by we is the true British people, what we believe is that there is only two genders and that men or women, vice versa, should not be going in each other's bathrooms. There's a reason why women fought for this, John, in the 60s and you know, the actual feminists, the first wave of feminists fighting for this, you know, running in front of horses on horse tracks. They died for this cause. These feminists now, they're not dying for their cause. I saw a video of some Just Oil protesters going out, I think it was on the F1 tracks, like literally risking their lives of probably being killed over oil. They don't understand what they are going through, John. These people are mentally ill. They don't even understand why they're fighting. They've just been told this by Saint Greta of climate change. It's a joke.
Yeah, it is. And what middle classes as well. And you know what I mean? And she'll be causing more of a carbon footprint than me anyway, you know. Honestly, you know, it's scary. But you know, like I don't like how they get away with things, me. This trans community attacking people. And we've got a friend, and he's called TKE Media. Yeah. And I'm not saying he's a nationalist. He isn't. He's I think he's more of a lefty, really. But you know, he's come and filmed some of our demonstrations. He's not opinionated. He don't go on his streams like me and say, I want this. He doesn't say that. He just goes up to people and asks them if you want to talk, and you know, ask them why they're here and stuff. So, and you know, been to a couple of Tommy demos. Went to the first Telford one. He's a nice lad, but he went to a trans march and ended up getting attacked and getting arrested off the police. And he didn't do nothing wrong, and he was just there to film. And I mean, Arlene knows who I'm talking about, and he is a really nice, level, straight-headed guy. He's not for any particular side, and he just does his media. This is how I want media people to be treated. But honestly, he got attacked, and you know, I just felt for him, I felt for him.
Yeah, you know, the whole kind of controversy that surrounds the trans activism right now, obviously they're pushing for, you know, backwardness, especially when it starts affecting children. You know, and we hear it from the left so much, right, that they like to claim to be victims, right? The trans people are always being attacked and everything. But what we don't hear is when these people are attacking us, right? Or, you know, the conservatives or the children. There's no media coverage at all. Why? Because it goes against their narrative. They support the trans movement. They want the minority to become the majority. And for me, it's anti-biblical, and it should really be prohibited, in my opinion.
Definitely, I agree. Good evening, David Coppin. I hope we just say hello to Malcolm if you see him, or give him a text for us. I might text him after, but nice to see you on here, and SJ as well. Good evening, SJ. Hope you're all right. So you're on the show. You're on our Tuesday show, Party Talk. We've had Paul on, and it's give you Paul's prediction for 2023, which is increasing house prices. Oh my Lord! Oh, he did say an increase, so that's it don't sound good to me, but that's no good. But I mean, a couple of points. People have been talking about like the kind of houses we have built. I mean, we've got some really old houses, us, Callum, in Oldham, but it was good, but they're over 100-year-old now. You know what I mean? And they're not keeping up. But and I see that on the news, GB News, that the big house companies in England are being scrutinised at the moment for failures to build enough houses and stuff like that. That's on the news right now. So and it's really important. And as Paul said, there's no way we're ever gonna sort housing out unless we sort immigration out. Right, go on, Callum. I've got a call. You carry.
Yeah, no worries. So pretty much, like you said, with the housing crisis, we see a lot of people coming in asking and demanding for houses. We don't have enough houses to house our own people first. So why aren't we not housing our own citizens at the moment? Why? It's because they would rather care more about the illegal immigrants coming in and breaking our laws and not actually caring about British culture in general. The next point is another big concern, which I would say is the actual architecture that these people are building now. You know, these stained glass buildings, these ugly, horrific kind of types of architecture that construction companies are building now. It's not pleasant to look at. If you were to look at a picture of them, right, and ask to identify where that is on the world, you couldn't, because it doesn't show anything resemblance of Britishness or British history. And, you know, with the buildings now that we see, it's absolutely horrendous. You know, we have a housing crisis and, yeah, massive problem. I bet you guys didn't know this. King Charles, right now, he has his own town, his own village. It's called Poundbury. I think it's just outside of Plymouth, right? And he has this kind of old-looking Victorian style village, right? And it's like, compare that to the industries that are building houses now, the housing markets and everything. They're building these, you know, small, compact, you know, box-like prison cell-like wall. You know, everything's like white, and it's absolutely horrendous compared to them. When what we could be building and what we could be constructing is actual old architecture, but in a modern form. You know, with electricity, with all these types of things. That's what we could have been building. But the government don't want to invest in those sorts of things because they want us to be living in those tight pods.
Yeah, they do. They do, and they're no good. I mean, Pat's met people who are living in cramped conditions, and we've got an HMO down the road near where I live, and there's a little kid living in the house of multiple occupation, and it just makes me sick. But you know, the housing companies that we don't have enough control on them, and the council don't do enough. I mean, in Oldham, we just had a Hindu temple built for 10 million. Now, I'm being told, and it says online, that they paid for it themselves, but the land that it was being built on is prime housing land, and they had a plan to build houses there, and they let a temple come on. I've been in uproar, me, Callum. I've been in absolute uproar. Yet they had an emergency council meeting over housing the other week. Yet they're letting temples being built on housing land. You know what I mean? You just couldn't make it up. But no matter what, even if it were a temple, let's say they give it over to a company, or they give it over to something else, but it doesn't have to be a temple. But that land was for housing. You know, that's what it was going to be. And the area where they built it is the area in Oldham that is more overcrowded than anywhere else. You know what I mean? You couldn't make it up. And the worst thing is, I mean, the mad thing is, it's not directly affecting mostly white people. It's directly affecting the Pakistani community because it's an area that has a big Pakistani majority in this section where the house is. So they're not getting houses because the council think it's all right to let it go for a temple. You just couldn't make up what our council is like. You know what I mean? And I'm not just talking about Oldham. This kind of thing will go on in councils all over the country. And, you know, obviously I do say a lot. I said that, like, they're appeasing one section of the community more than other sections. I've said it loads of times, but the simple, factual, logical thing would be to build houses, yet to build a temple. You know, we're doomed. Fucking doomed.
Yeah, you know, John, we've had cases where there's been literal churches being taken down and replaced to become mosques, you know?
Yeah.
And they say that we're conspiracy theorists for saying that we're literally being taken over. You mentioned about the Hindus, right, in the Pakistani majority. remember, I think it was about a few months ago now, there were those fights outside of the Hindu or Sikh temples with the Hindus clashing with the Muslims. And that in itself is the result of allowing immigration from different countries, which then bring over their international problems, right? As in, the Hindus fighting the Muslims, because that's not our problem. That's what we've allowed into our country for allowing immigrants into this country, whilst we are still having problems with our own people. This is an absolute joke, the state of this country. We really do need to salute this, because in 5 years' time, in 10 years' time, if nothing is being solved about this, the rate it's going now, imagine it 100 times worse. I don't know if I could hear you, John.
Rookie John, thank you. So yeah, you're right. Honestly, all the protesting we have in England, and it's nothing to do with us. You know what I mean? And they're making it.
Yeah.
I mean, during football, the Albanians were throwing a few chairs in the air and stuff like that. The Indians and the Pakistanis in Leicester, and I watched GB News and they had an Indian guy on and a Pakistani guy on, and the Pakistani guy and the Indian guy said, "We've let extreme Indians in." That's what they both said. You know what I mean? And through immigration, and that's what they were saying, and that has happened throughout a lot. We've let a lot of the Islamic tourists in the same way. They come over, but I mean, I always go back to the Manchester Arena bombing me. So that year, the Tories had a conference, and I went to the conference on my own in Manchester, and I shouted about the Manchester Arena bombing. And so his parents, his mum and dad, were US prescribed on a terror list of being in some terror group in Libya. US, but not UK. Then we've had them over here. They've had 3 or 5 children or whatever, sucked up our benefits, and his son's gone back there, learned how to kill people, and come back over. And, I can never forgive the Conservative government for that, mate. Can't never forgive them. And everyone goes on about the MEN Arena. It was fake. This person failed. That person failed. The simple fact is we should never have had these people in the country in the first place. That's where it all starts, Callum. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah, it's not even that it was his parents, right? It's the fact that, for instance, with the case of Shamima Begum, right? Her parents came over. They didn't necessarily integrate to the fullest, but they weren't out, exploding arenas, right? But it was their daughter, Shamima, that then went over to the Middle East to fight for ISIS, yeah? And now they're having, considerations whether or not if they should allow Shamima Begum back into the country. Now, this is a fact that I found really interesting, John, right? And it was that there were more Muslims in the UK that left to go fight for ISIS than there are Muslims currently serving for the British Army. What does that say about the communities that we are allowing into our country? Well, they're not British. They're not pro-British. They're anti-British because their morals do not align with our laws. They do not align with our morality. They are anti-British.
Yeah, definitely. Jez, thank you for coming in. You're right. I mean, Calvin Robinson says exactly the same thing. You know what I mean? Their values don't mix with ours, and we've had the rape gang scandal, honor violence, all this kind of stuff that were never here before, and it's happening now. But as much as it is, these people are different. our government's issue, because if the rape gang issue would have been dealt with in the first place, then we wouldn't have the issue with it that we've got now. But there was a lot of them wouldn't do, too afraid, PC, and like they want to keep the other sections of the community happy with this liberal value thing. And let's say if something like this would have gone on before the World War or something like that, it would have been solved. People would have done something about it. But the kind of values we have now, people are too scared. And you know, I'm not one who hides my face, Callum, you know, and my address is online. People phone me up all the time, you know, but like I said to people, if you disagree with me, come and talk to me. But, you know, like I can't get on with a person with the mask on. I can't get that, me. You know what I mean? I've got to be a real person. But no, it's ridiculous. And I love what Kemi Badenoch says. We're never going to sort housing out till we sort immigration. And that's Kemi Badenoch. And she isn't ethnically any English in her, but that's what she says. And she's right.
Yeah, because obviously, as British people, we are not condemning people to come into this country if they are genuine refugees, if they do integrate into the Christian way of life. But the majority of them do not. And that's what's really hard, to segregate the people that do want to come into this country and benefit Britain economically, culturally, etc., compared to the people that want to come in, abuse the system, take all the taxpayers' money for themselves, and just absolutely catastrophically remove the identity of British people. I know there's a YouTuber called Maya Tuzi who's really good. I think he's from Iran.
Yeah, he is Iranian.
And he's the most British patriot, probably more British, you know, than you can find British people. So
yeah, he is. He is. He is. He is. There's quite a few like that, but you know, with the all liberal lefty values and all this woke mod, then people, a lot of them will just not say much, you know what I mean? But I know there's loads of black people, West Indians, Polish ethnicities. They all agree, you know, and on the same. And I mean, it's mad that the first person I ever worked alongside in UKIP was a Pakistani-born Pakistani man who lived over here. You know what I mean? And when I sat down with him and talked, he talked the same talk as me, you know, about about lots of people. Well, this was 2014. So, and we talked about the amount of people coming into the country. And he said things like, it affects everybody. It's affecting all of Oldham. Don't just affect this, but affects everyone who's here. It affects me, affects you, affects that person, you know. And he was well switched on. But, I mean, he was fighting a losing battle by being a Pakistani UKIP candidate in Oldham against the Labour Party. You know what I mean? And I did hear that, like, they sort of, like, smeared him or sort of like kind of smear attack on the guy. And he wasn't horrible. You know what I mean? He wasn't a nasty man. He had a little business right corner. He just wanted to do better for himself, you know, and I can get that off most people. But obviously the rhetoric they show us is that everybody hates that, but they don't. Right, we've done. We're coming up to an hour, so I think we're done for now. So thank you very much, Callum. I mean, we'll be on next week again. We've got our Bible study tomorrow. I am doing a live this Thursday. Next week, I've got Gary Clark and Nathan Kirkden on. A couple of activists who were into common law. So I've got them two on next week. And I mean, Gary was involved in getting Sadiq Khan. It were all filmed and calling him out in some meeting in London and sort of like putting him under common law charges. Yeah. Gary will explain this on next week. But thank you, Callum. Thank you, Paul. Is it there somewhere? Everyone in the chat, thank you very much. Don't forget, National Housing Party all the way.
Take care, everyone.
All the way, guys. All the way. Let me just, I'm just putting it into chat. Right, and hopefully I'll definitely see Callum tomorrow, and I'm looking forward to seeing Michael McCarthy tomorrow as well. But our Bible study, I'll put that in my banner up. If you email pat.mcginnis at nationalhousingparty.uk and we'll sort something out for Bible study. But thank you, everyone in the chat. Thank you, Arlene, everyone. Thank you, Arlene, for sharing. Durham Fox, good to see you, mate. Jez Davis, thank you. Thank you very much, pal. You said some very good things there. I liked them. And, yeah, be whoever you want with a group. But if you're not with a political party, you want to do your bit, join the National Housing Party. Your money will go towards leaflets. We've already had 20,000 recruitment leaflets. And by probably the end, within the next 2 months, all that 20,000 leaflets has gone. So we need more leaflets. So please join us and money will go towards leaflets. As like we said, we're campaigning. We're going to be campaigning in the Wirral, in Oldham, and probably another area down south. I'm not set what area yet. So we're going to have at least 3 candidates. Hopefully we'll have more, but we'll have at least 3 candidates minimum. But I'm sure that's going to increase. I'm going to say, I'm going to have an educated guess that we're going to have at least 5 candidates running in May, different places. But thank you very much, everyone. Thank you very much for your time. And I'll catch you all Thursday. I'm doing a show Thursday. I've not got a particular guest on, but I am doing a show Thursday. I'll talk about something, but we're doing a show Thursday. And I'll catch you all soon. Thank you very much. God bless.